Hello and welcome to this edition of The Class of Racing. Today we find ourselves at Durbanville, the country course in the Western Cape. Do you remember last week's program? Well, that was all about what they look like in the parade ring, how they should look. Are they well dappled? We spoke to trainers, we spoke to jockeys about how they should parade. Now we're moving on to the canter down, to the start. Sometimes they parade, turn around and canter down, or otherwise sometimes they go straight down to the start. It's all in the action, they say. Have they got a scratchy action? Did they stride short going to post? Have they got a long daisy cutting action? Do they have a high climbing knee action? Well, will it make a difference? The trainers, the jockeys, they believe it does make a difference. We're going to listen to what they have to say. Apart from that, next time you watch horses go down to post, look at the actions, make comparisons, and see exactly where your money must be. Well, let's hear what the jocks have to say about cantering horses down to the start. In the canter pass, crucial for a punter out there. Often punters don't have a bet until a horse has moved down to post. Being aboard the horse, sitting on top, what do you like to feel in your hands when they move to post?
Well, you'd like to have a little bit of enthusiasm, when the horse goes down to the start. And then it all depends on the type of horse you're riding. Some horses are very laid back, and the punter out there must realise that. He must have, know his horses. But what I like to feel is when the horse really stretches out and ears pricked forward, and even if they give a little bit of a jump while they're cantering down, it's great. You know what I mean? It just shows that they're feeling good. And but definitely, I think the main thing that sounded is stretching out really good, and just showing that enthusiasm that they're going to go out and race, which is what they want to do.
Often we see horses hacked down to start. Why do jocks do that?
Look, it basically depends on the type of horse you're riding. A lot of horses go down to the start. Either sometimes they're pulling very hard and they can maybe want to run away with you, which a lot of horses do sometimes. They're an animal and it's hard to get them to do what you want to do. So some trainers might say to you, hack the horse down, because it just makes him a bit more relaxed, and go down at the back of the field. Or, I find, I'll take each horse differently. I'll look at a horse. If a trainer says to me, hack it down, I'll go with what the horse is giving me when I leave that parade ring. As soon as I come out onto the course, if I feel that, he feels relaxed to me, then I'll hack him down or I'll canter him down. Otherwise, I'll do what the trainer wants me to do, which is just hack him down.
Glenn, when a horse goes down scratchy to the start, what does it mean to you?
Look, you've got to look at each horse individually, again, as I said. If you get like a young horse going down a bit short and scratchy, then you must take note of that. He's a young horse, he hasn't raced a lot of times, he must be something worrying him, and then you've got to be wary about those horses. You're getting a horse that's raced a lot of times, like an older horse, for example, he goes down, have a look at his form carefully, because that'll show you, if his form is consistent, then he's always had that, but he probably warms up and he probably gets a bit better. So you've got to be aware of that, but generally, if a young horse or a horse that's only had a few runs goes down a bit short, then rather stay away from those type of horses.
Cantering down to start, if a horse goes down very scratchy, what would your procedure be?
No, immediately then. Obviously, you'd be quite familiar with the horse at home before you ride him in a race, and you'd understand how the horse is. And if he does come to races quite scratchy, I think my first move would be to warm him up as much as I can and see if you could perhaps loosen him up and alleviate the problem as much as you can before you really go to the vet and ask him to have a look.
Grant, when you take a horse down to the start, what do you like to feel underneath you?
Just that the horse, like if the horse is moving well, or if he's like throwing 1 or 2 bucks and I know he's well, yeah.
Action-wise, do you like a free striding, long-action individual?
Yes, like when the horse drop his head and move along with a bit, and when he strides us freely, then I can feel that he's feeling well and he's ready to run.
When do you decide to hack a horse down to the start?
When the horse is a bit difficult, when he pulls a lot and takes too much going down to the start and out of himself, and yeah. So then I'd rather just prefer to hack him, keep him quiet as possible, so he can run a good race.
As we've heard, each horse is an individual. Now let's have a look at some horses cantering down and talk about their specific action. Sometimes when the horses move down to post, they tuck their head in a natural head carrying position. Each individual varying. Sometimes you can see they pull a little bit on the bit, but a good position with the head in a natural position. The horse in picture right now, you can see he's putting his head really low down as he moves to post as well, but he's still managing to get his legs to go out. That's jockey Glenn Hatt aboard going down on the runner. Here's another picture of a horse carrying his head in a natural position. Take note of his ears as well. They're pricked forward and he's moving to post very well. Speaking about ears pricked, here they go down to post. We heard the jockeys talk about the ears. There they're cantering down to post as well. It's always a good sign when those ears are pricked forward and not back, because sometimes that shows that they're feeling something a little bit sour and possibly it could have an effect on their race itself. Ears pricked to the front, always a good sign. Hack down is when a jockey keeps his feet out of the irons, out of the stirrups, going down to post. There's Andrew Fortune aboard. You can see both legs out of the irons as he moves down to post. There's another picture of a runner moving down to post, jockey feet out the irons, and the horse just going down slowly. Hack down. Sometimes a horse has got a reputation of playing up. The high knee action of a horse going down to post sometimes indicates the horse does need a mile or even further. And often you will find that trainers will look at this when they go to the ready to run sales to purchase horses. A high climbing action sometimes also indicates that they need softer underfoot conditions. That horse is taking hold, his head up, going down to post. Have a look at the front legs of this individual and you can see he's pulling his ears back slightly, getting into stride as well. As another runner, he's climbing with his one leg higher than the other, and as we heard Rian van Reenen say, sometimes it shows that it's a miler. The long action, free-flowing action of a horse moving down to post. Have a look at this horse gliding down to post. Effortlessly, hardly any effort in the action, but he's covering a lot of ground. Always a good sign. Once again, in general, you can see this horse moving very relaxed to post. Not the longest action, but moving well. In picture, another runner, everything where it should be, ears pricked forward and covering ground, floating down to post. Horses with problems going down to post sometimes need company, and here we can see Glenn Hatt aboard a runner going down to post with a lead pony. The lead pony, you have to get permission from the stipendiary stewards to allow you to use a lead pony or a lead horse taking the runner down to post. This keeps it company and makes it relax. Sometimes a jockey takes a runner down quite hard held to post because they're bred to race these horses, they want to get on with the job, but he takes them down quite restrained. You can see the rein quite hard there as a jockey gets his hands down low on the horse's neck, but he's in charge and doesn't allow the horse to go down freely. Often you hear the presenter speak about runners going down to post in a workman-like approach, and there you can see horse is ready to race, the jockey's got him on a tight rein going down to post, moving well, covering ground, and he's come to do business. Platinum Racing's runner going down to post here, you can have a look as well. A tight rein, once again hard held going to post with a workman-like attitude. The same applies here. The runner though has got a shorter action going down to post on a tight rein. Watch this horse go down to post, rather short or scratchy to start with. And as he proceeds to go down to post and warms up, he starts stretching slightly further. Some horses race like that, they come back better than the way they move to post. Let's have another look at another horse going down slightly short to post, although you can see he's having a good look around, look at his ears as well, but watch his action starting to improve slightly. You as a trainer, what do you look for? How do you want your horse to move to post?
Well, look, either or. I mean, a high action horse would normally run much better in the wet. Take that horse Copper Del Rey. I mean, you put him on the hard and he's terrible. In the winter, he wins races. But I like a horse with a nice action, covers a lot of ground. That's what I look for.
Canis, now they've moved down to post. What do you look for action-wise? I know we all like a daisy cutting action. You get high actions, all the different actions. What do you like when you see a horse move to post?
I actually don't like a daisy cutting action. A daisy cutting action is pretty much a short action and it's very low to the ground. I like to see a horse that moves well to start. They must have a nice big long stride and free in their action, not anything that's striding down a little bit short, or horses that have got a very high knee action. Sometimes, they can be a bit deceptive. Some horses that have got very high knee actions may prefer the wet going, or there are horses that often do stay. But I wouldn't like to see a sprinter going down to the start with a high knee action. Yes, maybe your daisy cutter action for sprinters. I think that's probably what you would find with most of your decent sprinters. But for me, a horse that moves well, that's got an athletic stride and is free and covers ground with having a little bit of pace as well. It doesn't really help to see a horse with a huge big stride and it hasn't got any pace to go with it. Then they end up often being a bit too slow and they can't really quicken up.
How off-putting is a scratchy action when a horse goes down short to post?
Obviously, it is a warrior horse that goes down short to post, but then there are certain horses that do go down short to post, and they do a bit of warming up down at the start, and they're a lot better in the race itself. So I always tend to be put off by a horse that strides down to the post short, but there are horses that do that and come home and win anyway. Besides that fact, but on the whole, I would prefer to see them striding down better and not short.
Rian, they've left the parade ring. When they go down to post, what do you as a trainer look for in a good action going to post?
Neil, also once again, as I said earlier on, action all depends on what distance the horses are running. In your sprint races, your 1000s to 14s, you want horses with low striding actions. We used to call it daisy cutting. With the horse strides out in front, he actually just throws his legs and his hoof just brushes the grass. That's the type of action you need for a sprinter. And obviously, your middle distance horses, you'll find that they always bend one knee. When they stride out, one knee will be bent up. And those are your middle distance horses. And your stayers, they can have a higher action, because they don't rely on speed, they just rely on stamina,
Well, there we go. You heard it. There's nothing like a good action when you move down to post. The horse, that is. Obviously, you now know what to look for, what to keep an eye on when they move down to post in the future when you go racing. We've heard from the trainers as well as the jockeys, short actions, long actions, daisy cutting actions. At the end of the day, as long as they end up in the winner's box, you'll be the one to decide. That's all from myself, Neil Pretorius, until we meet in the class next time in the class of racing.